Kenyans are currently faced with many challenges. And from the panelists' responses, we could feel, yeah, the challenges are already mentioned. Yeah, talk about the persistent corruption, talk about poor economy, talk about the COVID-19, not forgetting the BBI. Yeah, I don't know where the reggae is now anyway. Yeah, and of course the looming election period. And so as Kenyans who are thinking about ethics and who want to be ethical even in our leadership, in our living, in our operation, we are asking ourselves, what is our personal responsibility in light of all this? Yeah, I'm asking myself, what is my personal responsibility in light of all this? And I know many of us are asking ourselves that. So maybe we can hear from Dr. Rugo. Yes, Karibu, Dr.
Asante. Well, maybe I should allow you. Please, you can use Abraham. It's a fair name that I was given by my father and mother. The rest I have struggled along. I think a society gets what it chooses to get. And in a society like ours that has almost gotten to a point where greed, fake it till you make it, is the running mantra. And in a society where few people care about how you made your wealth, they only celebrate that you have it. There are some certain things that we seem to have accepted. And it shocks me that even in some spaces, corruption is bad as long as I am not gaining. So you hear people say, that guy, if I wish I was in his place. And this has permeated so far because, unfortunately, we've allowed the spirit of extraction to be our running software. What do I mean by the spirit of extraction? The spirit of extraction is a spirit that is about what is it I will get out of this. So that the conversation becomes almost like a contractual transaction. It's like a transaction. You go to church, you're told, give your money, God will bless you. So it basically becomes a transaction. And the pastor seems more bothered about what he will get out of you than what you will get. You go to hospital and you are told, before we can respond to your patient, deposit of 100,000 or 200,000, depending on which hospital you arrive at first. And the same thing happens to school. You go and you want your child placed in a school and you are told, wekelea macho. And you get stuck in, your car breaks down and the guys who come to help you ask you, na unatoa nini? Basically, what are you giving us so that we can help you? That's the unfortunate part. But the fortunate part is that even in that system, there are many, and I believe many who are even in this call, who have not bowed to Baal, who have chosen the narrow route of obedience, of integrity, sometimes at very high cost. Let me say this as it is. The reason why I believe our country's governance system, and governance here includes our social governance, whether you think about church and religious governance, corporate governance, political governance, has not collapsed, is because there are many men and women who are doing the right thing every day. Even within those spaces where there looks like everything is just in shambles, there are people, just like the honest accountant within a casino, who are doing the right thing in the midst of gamblers and in the midst of extractionists. Then what then becomes our responsibility? Our responsibility is twofold. I think one is, in this crisis, is to choose which side we stand. You cannot sit on the fence. You cannot watch the happenings. You have to choose which side you belong to and be faithful. If you choose the side of doing the right thing, of integrity, then you have to choose to engage from a point of integrity. So you cannot, for instance, talk about BBI from a distance. You must choose to engage with it so that you are able to say, the reason why I don't support it is because of the following. You cannot sit on the fence as far as matters corruption are concerned. You have to choose that as far as it concerns me, I am going to be honest in my dealings. I am not going to steal from my employer. I am going to be faithful in what I have chosen to engage in. But a second one is to know that the day to do the right thing is never tomorrow, is today. Often you get this sense that people assume that I will do the right thing. You know, the reason why this company is not doing well is because I'm not the CEO. The day I become the CEO, you will see the kind of transformation I will bring into this place. The reason why this church of ours is in a mess is because of the pastor. If I was the pastor, if I was the youth leader, if I was the, the truth of the matter is you only become what you're already becoming. And that greater opportunities, just like more money reveals the condition of your heart. I remember it must be John Ngang, and I think he's in this call, who told us, if you cannot tithe from 100 shillings, I was a student in KU then, you will not tithe from 100,000 shillings because that will be too much a burden. If you cannot part with 10 shillings, you will not be able to part with 10,000 shillings. In other words, the faithfulness in what is considered small is what God calls us. And God will not judge us for the things he never brought our way. He will judge us for the things that were obvious to us. So it's being faithful in our families. It's being faithful in that job, in that classroom, in that exam, and engaging from a point of information. We cannot speak from hearsay. We cannot speak and engage from a distance. Salt only makes its impact when it gets out of the salt shaker. As long as it's in there, it's that salt, and the food still remains without any salt. The last thing I wanted to say is that we must not fear to muddy our hands. Some of us have chosen integrity through staying away from the dirt. But the light is revealed in darkness, and salt is revealed in unsalted food. So we have to get ourselves muddied and dirty. But that does not mean we need to dirtify ourselves. There's a difference. You can choose to engage. Daniel did not work in a godly environment. In fact, he worked in a government that was so much corrupt that the only punishment God could give the king was to make him eat grass for 7 years. Sidhani kuna kiongozi wetu amefika hapo. Or maybe God is sparing us. I mean, God made Nebuchadnezzar, for how corrupt he was, to eat grass. But Daniel brought a change. Not by trying to change the people, but by revealing the God he served in that system, in that process. So we cannot sit from the side. Thank
you. Thank you, Terry. Yeah. I was just thinking as you were speaking, and my mind goes back again to the fact that when we come together as a group of people, whether it's some of the societal groups that you're talking about, or even as a nation, when the nation came together, they decided to have something called a constitution. I've referred to this earlier. And I'm looking at the fact that the first statement in that constitution is about acknowledging the supremacy of God, the creator of all. And so if we can all come from that perspective, we don't even need anything else in the constitution. because we will be doing everything from a God-centered perspective. And so then our constitution would be the Bible. And it pertains to life and it pertains to godliness. That which is our responsibility as leaders, as human beings, as members of society, wherever we are, that is where we are supposed to come from. I heard somebody say the other day that without a moral vision, it's a waste of time to do whatever it is that you're trying to do. You need to have that moral compass as an individual so that you are led and you shall be known by your fruit. As Abraham says, if you have money, money by itself is not corrupt. It depends on the person who is utilizing that money. I can use that money to bless a person. I can use that money to pay a person to kill a person. It is you, the individual, who decides what to do with that money and who decides whether you're going to be seeking and have a love for money or whether you're going to utilize that money as a tool that is going to get you the blessing, not only for yourself, but for others also. And so I come back to the first statement, acknowledging the supremacy of God, who is the creator of all. Because we're looking at this as in terms of what is my personal responsibility. My responsibility is to do all things heartily as unto God. And if I am to do that, will I be involved in corrupt dealings? Will I be involved in passing certain things that are not in alignment with my biblical values? Have I aligned myself to the values? We even talked earlier about the various different values within our constitution. Have I taken the responsibility to know what those values are? And you can find them in the second chapter of the Constitution in Article 10. And there are quite a number of them. And am I imbibing those values so that when I am tempted, I am not going to be tempted more than I am able? Am I strengthening myself as an individual to speak courageously with confidence and courage and have that consistency, as we heard earlier, to be able to do the right thing at the right time in the right place to get the right result? My personal responsibility, so that when I have done the right thing, is God going to say, well done, my good and servant, or my good and son, whatever, my good son. So when we are looking at corruption, it takes two to be corrupt, basically. We had a Zoom meeting one time and the question was, who is corrupt, the giver or the receiver? I was quite surprised to see that some people had actually put the receiver as the one who is corrupt. And I couldn't understand that. It meant that within their minds, if I don't receive, then I'm not corrupt. But I didn't know whether they meant that if I don't give, then I'm also not corrupt. I didn't quite understand that understanding. But the idea is that, are you doing the right thing? Is it a corrupt deal that you're entering into? Are you finding it the easier way to go? And then when it comes to something like the COVID situation, we've covered it quite well. Am I taking the personal responsibility to do the right thing, even first of all for my family? I was very saddened because I heard the other day from someone who has a neighbor and she has two small children. And these two small children have been inside the house since March. They live within a community where other children are playing outside and the parents are quite careful to see that they are properly attended to. But this particular individual has taken a personal responsibility to keep her children inside the house. Now, if we had that individual within leadership, we would have probably all still be inside the house. And what does it say about what she understands, if she is a Christian, concerning fear? Because what happens to a lot of us is that we allow fear to get into us. Fear of, quote, the looming elections. Fear of the fact that, oh my goodness, did I do the right thing? Ideally, when we become natural at doing what is right, we will know when we are not doing what is right. And so what is my personal responsibility? It's about me making sure that I am the sort of person that no matter what anybody says about me, I will not argue because it will be correct. You have the self-confidence of knowing that your values that you have imbibed for yourself are not reproachable. Is that the right word? Or I think you understand what I'm trying to say. But then we have something else that's come up called BBI. I was listening to someone speak the other day, and she said, you know, when you read the BBI, look for that thing which is going to make life better for you as an individual. Now, Abraham has said, read it, get involved, all right? But if I don't know what is in the BBI, and then I listen to the corrupt people who are trying to do things that are not right with respect to my values, and I don't know, in fact, how to participate as the Constitution requires of me as a personal responsibility to participate in an action such as that. Do I sign or do I not sign? What does it even say about me? Is it about other people that I'm trying to put people into certain positions, like some people ask? Or is it about a little something that could even have been easily done by legislation in Parliament? Why do I even have this particular document? And you can't ask those questions without engaging. You need to have an idea of what it is talking about. You need to have an idea of why it is even available to the Kenyan people, so that we can ask the question, do we need to have a referendum or do we not? So that it's not something that is going to become a fear factor. There are those who ask, where's the responsibility of the people who are in government? Why are they spending so much money on something and they're not spending money on doctors' health who are out in the front line of the COVID? And these are questions that are probably also encumbering people's minds. And so rather than have the fear that has been put in us with respect to this particular pandemic that we have, where is our trust? And where is our response rather than our reaction? So that we can respond to it from a point of knowledge. And that means that we need to be able to increase information about things that we as individuals have a responsibility to participate in. And I read somewhere, no, I heard from someone one time, and they said, no is an honorable and a holy answer also, an anointed answer. Because sometimes we get pushed into doing things when we should have said no. But you must take a personal responsibility so that when you say yes or when you say no, you can live with your conscience. Do not allow other people to determine for you what the future is for you. Allow them and play your part so that when you have done your part, then you allow what now, unfortunately, we have accepted as democracy. If the majority win, then the majority will take the responsibility, all right? But at the same time, we're looking at personal responsibility. What is my personal responsibility? Do I know about chapter 10? Elnet is about leadership. Do I, chapter 6, excuse me, in the Constitution? I keep going back to this because any organization that has governance has a constitution or a document that decides how that particular organization is going to go. And so if I have a responsibility in a board, I need to understand the constitution or the charter of the board. If I am in a particular committee, I need to understand what is that church's constitution. Am I making decisions contrary to what everybody has agreed upon in terms of decision making? I need to take that personal responsibility to inform myself so that any decision that I offer or I make is informed as a result of what I have learned concerning the matter at hand.